on Galway and Roscommon in just a moment. But first, though, a word about tonight's edition of the Sunday Game. Now, that programme will feature the other big football game of the day. That's Armagh versus Tyrone. Darren Maloney will be our commentator in Clonus. So let's just join him for the moment and get the latest news from there.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to Clonus. This game today will be a near sellout, a very special atmosphere around the town this morning. For the moment, it's dry, but we had some very heavy rain earlier on today. Despite that, though, the pitch looks in very good condition. The Tyrone fans, they're very confident after their recent league success, but Armagh, they've been quiet. They've been away at La Manga in Spain for a training camp for a week, and they are quietly confident of winning here today. It should be a cracking game. You can see highlights of it later on.
Thanks, Dara. Armagh and Tyrone, our featured match tonight on the Sunday Game. Network 2 at 9:30. And could I also just mention to you that the programme will be taking a look at the new drug testing procedures within the GAA, an issue that doesn't rest easy with all concerned. There'll be more about that later on tonight's programme. Right now we turn our attention to this match. By the way, I'll also be giving you later on the phone numbers to ring for the man of the match from this particular game. I'll give you that at half-time. Pat Spillane, Galway versus Roscommon, who's going to win this?
I would have said 5 weeks ago that Roscommon had a great chance. You know, coming into had a great league campaign, qualified for the league semi-final, yet everything collapsed against Cavan. And I think mentally, you know, obviously full-back problems. Mentally, it'll take a long time to recover from that defeat. Last week, they had, you know, a week when they should have been preparing, thinking of ways of stopping Joyce, Savage and Co. They had an unnecessary distraction with the newspaper headlines concerning some of their players. So Galway have had a very low-key build-up, obviously, it's very hard to put all Ireland's back-to-back. It hasn't been done since Cork 89-90. Low-key build-up. Galway have 14 of last year's team. They are the best team in the country at the moment. They play a simple, uncomplicated game, move the ball quickly into their full forward line. I think you'd have to say Galway.
Galway went the hard route at it last year. Colin, I know they want to do the shorter route this time.
Yes, well, I suppose Roscommon gave them a right kick in the pants last year in the first game. In the end, it worked out better for them because Galway's team today is the one that was redesigned after Roscommon beat them last year and is found to be the best possible combination in the country. Arguably one of the possibility of being one of the best teams for the last decade because no other county has forward talent like Galway have at the moment, and I think it's an addition having Matthew Clancy on. So I think there's a big question mark over Kevin Walsh and Tomás Mannion. If they're as good as they were last year, it's hard to see Galway not only losing today but losing all year, because certainly in terms of talent I think they have considerably more than anybody else.
You'll be looking at certain aspects of the games, both of you have. Colin O'Rourke, we'll start with you first, looking at some of the stronger links and weaker links of these teams.
Well, I took a look at the Galway scoring power, and we have it here in the All-Ireland semi-final against Derry. Matthew Clancy came on and scored a brilliant goal. Galway have 5 forwards who kick predominantly with their left foot, which is a very unusual thing. There we had Pádraig Joyce showing that he can kick points with his right foot. And again we have Kevin Walsh, the link man here, on to Derek Savage, and a very easy score from play. I think what you notice about the Galway forwards is the movement off the ball. And not only that, but then they have a player like Michael Donlan, who's probably a better forward, able to score those sort of long-range points. And here again in the All-Ireland final, a great incident to show the mobility of their whole team. Declan Meehan through, on his left Sean Oak de Puer, who could have put him in for a goal. So Galway have probably about 12 scoring forwards all over the field.
OK, Colin O'Rourke, we've asked you to look at Galway. Pat Spillane obviously asked you to do the same thing in terms of Roscommon, and it's Pat's view of things.
Well, it wouldn't have taken an Einstein to figure out what their weakest link was, and that was the defence, particularly the full back line, who conceded 5 goals against Cavan. You can see these 2 shots were 2 speculative shots in. Cavan fellas were first to react and score the goal. Another speculative shot should have been a defender's ball, not cleared. Cavan fella first to react to goal. And now they have taken remedial action today by dropping John White and Ian Daly, so we have 2 guys new in the full back line. But I think they shouldn't shoulder all the blame. Francie Grehan at centre back was all-star last year. Tremendous carrying the ball forward, which is all very well. But when the ball breaks down and Frankie doesn't get back, as you can see in this instance, there's an awful lot of space in front of the full back line. Now that's manna for heaven for a full forward point of view. And you can see all the space that's around here. There's no Frankie, and eventually ended up with Sean Oak de Puer scoring a point. So while the full back line certainly must shoulder a lot of the blame, Francie's sojourns up the field aren't helping the cause. And I mean, if you look at Galway, Tomás Mannion plays centre back, stays there in the middle, blocks up the middle, and Roscommon's key to success today is to stop that supply line into that little full forward line, and Frankie and them must be there to block that off.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much for that for the moment. Now, just a quick reminder before we go over to Roscommon about our man of the match. I promised you those phone numbers. Selected as our man of the match winners from the afternoon's live games will be announced in our evening programme and will receive one of our specially commissioned crystal trophies, and you can have your say in who that is. Here's the number to ring for the game coming up. From the Republic, it's 1550 717115. Calls cost 74 cents per minute. From Northern Ireland, the number is 0906 614 1818, and those calls cost 60 pence per minute. The lines are open until 8 o'clock. Now I can tell you first blood to Galway in Roscommon. They've won the minor match against Mayo 2-11 to 2-8. But what's going to happen in the senior game? We're about to find out. Let's go over to our commentary team. That's Martin Carney. And first, Marty Morrissey.
Thank you very much, Michael. And you join us here in Dr. Hyde Park as Aron Naveen is being played by the Castlereagh Reed and Brass Band. Yes, indeed, a wonderful atmosphere here in Dr. Hyde Park. A very strong breeze will no doubt be a major factor playing from left to right as you look from our position. Match referee is from the St. Paul's Club in Lurgan, County Armagh, Brendan O'Gorman, who refereed the last Munster final between Cork and Kerry last year, and of course was in charge of Roscommon and Galway in June 12 months ago. No changes on either side. Roscommon playing with the wind in the first half. The team manager, John Tobin, told me beforehand that if they won the toss, they'd play with the breeze, take every advantage. Corey Joyce seemed to have foul possession and the free quickly taken. Gary Cox sending it in quickly. There's Jerry Lohan, and there's a point. 32 seconds played in Roscommon, and the home side are in front. Jerry Lohan always seems to play very well here in Hyde Park. In the Connacht final last year, he scored 2 goals and 2 points against Mayo. Goalkeeper Alan Keane, injured in a challenge match against Donegal out in Connemara in the opening of the Napashik New Club grounds. And he passed a fitness test last Wednesday to take his place again between the pucks. Paul Noon getting it across as far as Seamus O'Neill. They're remembering Galway, his performance in June. And he started brilliantly. Man of the match against Galway in June 12 months ago. He scored 2 points that day. What a start for the young man who's going to be 20 years of age later this year.
Very confident start indeed for Roscommon, Marty. Great score from Seamus O'Neill, taking up where he left off last year. Wonderful high raking kick from the middle of the field. Always, the Galway team always bring out the best in him, so he can look forward to a good game today.
It's a very, very strong breeze here in Roscommon town, favouring the home county. Brilliantly caught here by Michael Donlan. Squaring up to Seamus O'Neill. And referee Brendan O'Gorman again maintaining his reputation as a very strict referee. Just noting the name of Seamus O'Neill. Sean O'Dupuy is available here in front of us. Joe Berger gets by the challenge of Seamus O'Neill rather easily. John Fallon just took his eye off it, picked up by Francie Graham. John Hanley playing at left half forward, but already playing a deep defensive role. Giving it low. Gary Fahey just hit off his shoulder and deflected into the path of goalkeeper Alan Keane. Right half back is Declan Meehan, Footballer of the Year 2001. Jar Fallon, expected to test out the calibre of Francie Graham's defensive qualities. Good play by Andrew McPadden, and it's McPadden again. Native of North Roscommon, spraying it across to Nigel Deneen. Sending this one in, and Alan Keane had to actually cover it because it was just lobbing in under the crossbar. Kevin Welch has to go back to try and sweep up. Declan Meehan giving it down the centre for the captain of Galway, Corey Joyce. The overlap provided by Joe Bargan. Just lost control of it. Gave the chance to Roscommon to recover. And the referee has given the free against the home side. And there's a chance for Galway to open up their account here.
Yeah, so one of the things we talked about beforehand, Marty, was the space in front of the Galway full forward line. There was too much space that time, and in fact in the first couple of attacks Galway had, it was notable that both Gary Cox and John Hanley were trying to get back and trying to protect the area in front of the full back line. Didn't happen that time. Space there, free earned, point coming up.
The captain, Corey Joyce, nominated by the county champions Anna Down to take over the captaincy role again. Scores Galway's opening points. The Battle of the Champions has certainly attracted a large crowd. We estimate 20,000 people packed in to this venue. And certainly around Roscommon town there's a great buzz. You could know the championship is around despite the fact that the summer weather isn't around. Michael Donnelly. The argument continues about his best position. Is it left half forward? Is it midfield? His performance with Kevin Welch this afternoon could well be crucial, as Colm O'Rourke mentioned in our preview. Tonlin gives it long. Roscommon's full back line going to be tested this afternoon. Here's Francie Graham. A hot fooling. Everybody, including Jonathan Dunning. Richie Fahey making himself available. Jar Fallon flicking it out to Sean O'Depware. Kevin Welch providing the support. Held by Fergal O'Donnell. And Gary Cox getting involved with Welch. And the referee again very strict and very calm, just telling the player in question, this time Kevin Welch, that he saw what happened. When the teams met here on the 16th of March, it ended 3-11 each. And this man, Corey Joyce, has taken the free against Eric Thompson as we watch the goalkeeper here. This is the angle that Joyce is facing. Scored a goal and a point from coming on as a substitute. This is his second attempt at a free. The first one is successful, this one more difficult. Hits it sweetly and just to the left and wide. And it looks like there's a Roscommon man down. He seemed to injure himself in the process of making sure that that ball didn't go over the bar.
Yes, I'm not sure. I think it's Seamus O'Neill actually may have gone back and bumped into the goal post and is in a bit of trouble at the moment. But going back to that National League game, tremendous game, 3-11 each, and Joyce had a great second half in that match.
Seamus O'Neill from Kilbride just seemed to hurt himself. Dr. Martin Daly, Roscommon doctor. Here it is again as O'Neill ensured. See, he hit his head off the back stanchion.
Yes, that's a very, very sore belt to get. In jumping, he hit the iron stanchion at the back of it, and he probably has given himself quite a cut there on top of the head.
Dr. Martin Daly, doctor to the Roscommon team. His father actually was doctor to the Galway team in the All-Ireland final of 1983. And his grandfather was doctor to the Wexford Hurlers back in the 1950s.
Oh, keeping it in the family.
Here is Stephen Lohan. Gary Cox coming from left half back is Paul Noon. What a run and a finish to match. He's doing exams in Maynooth College at the moment, yesterday and again tomorrow. Couldn't attend training yesterday morning here in Hyde Park under John Tobin, but his influence and his role is so important here. Coming from a deep left half back position, flicking this over the bar. And just confirmation of the health of Seamus O'Neill. He's taking time off. He's going on. David Casey, who performed very well during the league campaign, he's just 20 years of age, is coming on for the moment. So a blood substitution for Roscommon. Sideline ball, Roscommon. Stephen Lohan. Knocked away from the path of John Hanley by Declan Meehan. Tomas Mannion. Hefty challenge on Paul Clancy, but he survives it. Over towards Derek Savage, given a lot of space by Raymond Cox. Savage gets by the challenge of the corner back, jinking past another defender. Difficult angle for Jack Allen, and it's gone wide. The signs are ominous though, Martin, because the word is that Derek Savage has been performing brilliantly, in fact the whole Galway attack, in challenge matches.
Yes, I think he scored 2 or 3 here in the National League game in March, but that time he was given far too much room by Raymond Cox. But the quality of the ball threaded through by Paul Clancy is what made that opportunity. I'm surprised Derek didn't go and take the opportunity himself.
Breaking ball picked up by Declan Meehan. Paul Clancy able to mix it. Good distribution as well to find his colleague in the half-forward line, Joe Bergen. That's a very poor pass from Bergen. Gives the initiative to Roscommon. Referee has blown his whistle for the foul on Jonathan Dunning, who's quite an impressive performer and had quite a good league campaign as well.
Yes, not a very orthodox full forward, quite light but very lively, and the type of person who will take Gary Fahy around the pitch quite a bit.
Well, we all know that league and championship are different, but he certainly did very well in that league match, scoring 2 goals and a point here at Hyde Park.
Yes, and the goal he got actually in the last minute really pulled it out of the fire for Roscommon. But as I said, he's a very, very lively, a very elusive player, a difficult enough player to pin down, in particular if the quality of the ball is good coming through to him.
This free just inside the 45. Jerry Lohan hits it powerfully, but inaccurately. Interesting tussle so far, very lively. Certainly a step up indeed in terms of quality already, in terms of what we saw last Sunday.
Yes, both teams are just settling into the game nice and quietly. Noticeable that Roscommon are trying to do what Galway normally do, and that is attack from the half-back line, go into the belly of the Galway defence. And Paul Noon did it very effectively there a little while ago. And they'll be trying to continue that, to keep the Galway half-back line retreating and not allowing them up the field.
Seamus O'Neill returning to duty at centre field. David Casey goes back to his bench. Usually, Alan Keane brings in his cornerback, and Fitzgerald is under pressure. Quick ball inside to Jonathan Dunning. Pressure on the Galway defence. There's a chance here, there's a loose man available. Happens to be right half-back Andy McPadden for Kieran Fitzgerald. Again in the centre of the activity, wins himself a free this time. Not a good choice by the goalkeeper, despite the fact that he's playing against a very strong breeze.
Yes, but they did that quite a lot last year, varying the form of their kick-out, sometimes short, sometimes long. It's normally done to good effect, but there's a little bit of hesitancy about the Galway defence at the moment. They're just playing their way into the game. They need a little bit longer to get the rhythm, up and running. John O'Mahony, recognised as a master tactician,
and certainly has had a huge influence in making Galway the powerful team that they are now.
Yes, and Roscommon's the one team that he does not like being beaten by.
Michael Donnelly. Tomas Mannion. Jeff Allen. Good work by Stephen Lohan. And despite the fact that Roscommon are playing with the breeze, it's interesting to note that John Hanley and Stephen Lohan are playing quite deep inside their own half.
Yes, I think the whole issue there is to protect the full back line, get bodies in space in front of that full back line.
Let's contest today, let's contest!
Declan Meehan surprisingly trying to give it back to Gary Fahey, who in turn brings in his goalkeeper into the action. Michael Donnelly giving it outside to Kieran Fitzgerald. Sent in low towards Derek Savage. This time Roscommon win the tussle, and it's Frenzy again. All-Star centre-half back 2001, but he takes too much out of it, and the referee correctly gives the decision to Galway. It's not a good pass outside from Paul Clancy. Rather poor defending by Roscommon, but the pass again goes astray. Stephen Lohan comes away with it. Jonathan Dunning in front of the ball, in front of the man. Pass across field is again a poor one. Kieran Fitzgerald cuts it out. Kevin Welch brings Joe Bergen. Bergen doing what John Hanley and Stephen Lohan are doing for Roscommon, playing inside his own half of the field. Good pressure by Seamus O'Neill and Fergal O'Donnell. Declan Meehan gives it long. That's the type of ball that Joyce loves. This time Alan Nolan gets a touch, and Alan Nolan is deemed to have fouled the forward going through.
I think a little bit unlucky that time, because it was a 50-50 ball. Alan Nolan and Jazz Fallon both went for it, and okay, Jazz certainly got caught, but I don't think there was any malice involved in that.
This is a player who, of course, is standing in at full back for his first championship encounter. He played left half forward last year. Roscommon defensively had problems in the league, replacing John White and Ian Cox. And there's a yellow card for Alan Nolan. I should say left cornerback Ian Daly, and certainly it's very important today for Roscommon that Alan Nolan and Raymond Cox perform in the full back line.
Yes, they have a very big assignment in trying to pin down Derek Savage and Porrick Joyce, both of whom are playing very good football at the moment.
So Alan Nolan, in your verdict, just unlucky there.
Unlucky that time, 50-50 ball, certainly caught Chad, but there was no malice involved, and I thought unlucky to get the yellow card.
Porrick Joyce with his third attempt from a free. This time glides it more to the right, but it's still going closer, but not close enough. 1 point out of 3 attempts. Large crowd here, basking in the sunshine, but not exactly what you would expect for the 19th of May. It's rather cold here in Roscommon. There's a doubt about goalkeeper Derek Thompson during the week with hamstring difficulties. But he too, like Alan Keane, his counterpart for Galway, has fit to play. Last year's captain, Fergal O'Donnell. Gary Cox, under severe pressure, takes too many steps. Compliments to Sean O'Dwyer and Matthew Clancy, putting pressure on the Roscommon half forward.
Yes, every one of the Galway players from 15 back to 2 are tremendous at putting pressure on the player with the ball. Great tacklers and swarm around the player with the ball.
Chance for Galway here. Matthew Clancy under pressure from Dennis Gavin. Gavin fouls, 3 for Galway.
That's one of the issues actually that I think is worth mentioning, that Roscommon must be disciplined in their tackling. They must get to the ball first, as many of them have been doing, but they mustn't concede frees because Joyce will punish it.
And he's punished it here. Second point of the day for the full forward. right corner back Dennis Gavin's name has been certainly noted, but not a yellow card for the cornerback. There's a certain amount of uneasiness in the Roscommon full back line. They're doing okay, but I just feel that they're a little bit nervous.
They are, yeah, but that's understandable given the quality of the opposition there.
Good work by Richie Fahey, who's followed Nigel Deneen to the other corner. Deneen and Lohan have switched. This is John Hanley. Manages to get it outside. Stephen Lohan, Fergal O'Donnell, not known for his point taking, and he hasn't added to his reputation here. Now, with over 18 and a half minutes gone, I think Roscommon will be disappointed that they're not dominating a lot more, particularly with the strength of the breeze favouring them.
Yes, they're the livelier of the two teams at the moment, playing with a greater spirit, but they're not kind of registering the scores that the possession deserves.
The two Faheys there, Gary and Richie, seem to have problems. I think it's brother Richie that's in difficulty.
Yes, he was put under a lot of pressure the last time he got the ball from a couple of Roscommon forwards. They tackled him fairly, they dispossessed him, but in the process he picked up a little bit of an arm injury, an elbow injury, which can be quite sore. Yeah, again, so far the midfield dominance of Seamus O'Neill, or for that matter Michael Donlan, hasn't materialised. The game is really kind of bypassing both midfields, and half-backs seem to be more in it on both teams.
Kick out, just dropping inside his own half of the field. Roscommon latching onto it. Andy McPadden fouled again. And it's going to be another free for Roscommon. And Jerry Lohan is going across to take it. Third championship campaign for the corner forward. Nobody really providing an option for him off camera in terms of running off the ball. They're hoping that Lohan will send this over the bar, but again, it sends it wide. It's the third wide of the game for Roscommon, but despite the number of wides, they certainly aren't dominating the game, and I'm sure that John Tobin is rather disappointed with the first 20 minutes, despite the fact that they're in front.
Yes, the last couple of minutes have been particularly wasteful. Both Fergal O'Donnell and Jerry Lohan in that case have had good opportunities. Wind off their shoulders, should be putting those balls over the bar. They're going to need that lead at half-time with the wind in their back, because it's a considerable wind.
Alan Keane opts for Joe Bergen's wing. To Moss Mannion. Back to Sean Dupere. Corey Joyce comes out from the full forward. Opts for the support play of Joe Bergen. Gary Cox chasing after him. Back outside to Chad Fallon. Unable to pick it up, and it's Francie Grehan that picks up the loose ball, and John Hanley is available at the far side. The support in the middle is Andy McPadden. Good play by Roscommon. Stephen Lohan. Sort of movement that we expected from them right throughout the league campaign. Nigel Deneen under pressure from Richie Fahey. Stephen Lohan comes in with an illegal challenge, and that's going to be a free for Gary Fahey of Galway.
It's Andy McPadden, who I think has moved over the left half-back, is playing very well at the moment, getting forward as often as he possibly can, causing Paul Clancy quite a lot of trouble on the opposite wing.
Good play, John Hanley. Swinging this one in towards Jerry Lohan. Kieran Fitzgerald trying to stay with him. Needs to go back outside. Intercepted by Tomas Mannion. Good counter-attack by the Galway centre half-back. Won an All-Ireland minor in '86, now 32 years of age. Sneaking this one through. Where's Corey Joyce? Is Paul Clancy. Sean O'Dupere was the only one in around the house at the moment. Matthew Clancy is available, but there's nobody there. Seamus O'Neill is back there helping out his defence. So too is Fergal O'Donnell. And it's Clancy Graham. Roscommon now beginning to play with a little bit more confidence, using different options, but very much employing the short ball game. Gary Cox floating this one in towards Jonathan Dunning. Not a good ball, and Richie Fahey has the situation under control with the support of Declan Meehan. Paul Clancy. Kevin Welsh orchestrating affairs from centre field, almost in the centre back position. Down to Porrick Joyce. Derek Savage gone inside. Joyce holding it up, now floating it in. Matthew Clancy. Derek Savage. Roscommon panicking. Roscommon falling. And Alan Nolan just taking down the Galway attacker, where a little bit more composure would possibly have maybe not solved, but maybe averted this particular free.
Yeah, certainly Roscommon are the more industrious, the more energetic team at the moment, but that little bit of composure is probably necessary. They mustn't concede frees. We've said that a few times, but this is the third opportunity that Porrick Joyce has been given to put the ball over the bar.
11-3 of the game to Galway, and the third point for Porrick Joyce.
Yeah, one issue that Galway will be a little bit disappointed with is that in the 24 minutes they've got 3 points, but none of them from play actually, even though they've created a number of good openings.
Level for the first time. And it's taken Galway 24 minutes to accomplish that feat, but remember, Galway are playing against the wind. John Hanley, industrious, working hard. From a left-half forward position, Stephen Lohan floating in a long ball. Alan Keane comes off his line, putting pressure on Nigel Deneen. Richie Fahey fouling the corner forward. That's going to be a free.
Yes, I just wonder about Alan Kane's knee. It's very, very heavily bandaged, and his mobility that time seemed a little bit restricted. He was sluggish enough going for that ball, which he should have won. Just wondering, is the knee bothering a little bit?
Nigel Deneen gets his first point. Scored 3 goals and 26 points in 7 league encounters over the last few months. Very much a man in form, and that's a valuable point for Roscommon. Keane opts for the middle of the pitch. Tomas Mannion flicking it out by Joe Bergen. Porrick Joyce comes right through the middle as usual, and again the Galway players seek him out. Alan Nolan trying not to foul. Joyce sending this one wide. Derek Savage just informing his captain that he was available for a short ball, but normally Joyce sends these over.
Yeah, what was admirable about that was the simplicity of it. The ball was broken by Donlan to Bergen. Bergen gave a delightfully weighted pass to Joyce, who missed the opportunity. But the quality of the football there was beautiful in the simplicity.
And John O'Mahony must be reasonably pleased, considering that he is playing against this breeze in this opening half. Just trailing by a point with almost 27.5 minutes played. Alan Nolan charging with the ball, not allowed, and Brendan O'Gorman, the official from Armagh, alert to that particular foul. Lovely flick on, Joe Bergen providing the overlap to Derek Savage, and that's over the bar. Beautiful piece of interplay by Galway. But again, an error by Roscommon, giving the ball away, charging out. Referee alert to the challenge here, but lovely play here by Galway. Enterprising and indeed efficient.
Yes, enterprising, efficient and very quick thinking. Great score by Bergen, first of the scores from play today.
Level for the second time in Hyde Park. Punched away by Sean Dupré, picked up by Francie Graham. Needs the support outside, and again Jack Fallon intercepted it. And again it's Andy McPadden that's back there. Member of the under-21 team, and they won the Connacht Championship in '99, but just slow and thinking. But the referee is indicating that the ball was picked up off the ground, and it's going to be a free to Roscommon.
Well, it's either that actually, or he slid in with the foot to get the ball away, which is illegal, technically illegal, and maybe he blew them for that.
Roscommon with possession, Stephen Lohan. Seamus O'Neill. John Hanley. Having to kick from far out because the options from the full forward line are limited, not making space off the ball. And Jonathan Dunning and Nigel Deneen in particular will have to work a little bit harder. Michael Donlan. Sean Dupré. Donlan and Jonathan Dunning have a little shoulder, a little go off each other off the ball. The referee is giving the free against Corey Joyce. Fergal O'Donnell, John Hanley. Aimed at Jonathan Dunning. Gary Fahey just gets a touch to it. Sideline ball, Roscommon. Again, there are no quick options. They're very slow in their mental approach, I feel, the Roscommon forwards. They're just waiting for the free to be taken.
Yes, the off-the-ball movement wasn't great there, but I think so many of the forwards are working back in a defensive capacity. They probably haven't got the energy when the ball comes forward.
Alan Keane puts the ball on the outside the small rectangle, and the referee has given a free in.
That's a 30-metre free, certainly.
Yes.
And Alan Keane might have nightmares about that goal down there because he conceded a dreadful goal in the National League game against there. Ball coming in here, ball goes outside and certainly touches it on the ground outside in the bigger rectangle, so therefore it is a 30-metre free. Correct decision.
Free going to be taken by Nigel Deneen. Happy to send this over for a second point from a place ball. Now playing his club football with Castlereagh St. Kevin's, but a native of Tulsk, transferred to Castlereagh 2 years ago now.
Yes, again, it's the second time that Alan came there, and just wondering about his overall mobility because of that knee injury. He was hesitant there, which is not something that is a characteristic of him. He's normally very, very decisive in what he does.
Fine kick out by Keane. So Roscommon win possession again. Joe Bergen, unaware, was coming in his direction until he was informed by Gary Fahey. Jonathan Dunning going to be spoken to by the referee, and for a personal foul could well be shown a yellow card. Brendan O'Brien is in fact going to show a yellow card. So Dunning becomes the second yellow card to be shown in this match. Alan Nolan, the full-back, being the other. Francie Graham, the wrong side of Derek Savage. Back to Kevin Welsh. Confronted by Fergal O'Donnell. Support from Sean Dupré. No sign of Gary Cox, who really should be aware that a player loves to run from a left half-back position. Derek Thompson, quickly off his line. Look at where John Hanley is. He's left half forward, playing in his full-back line. Roscommon are so much aware of the potential weakness in that inner line, that they're playing it very defensively, despite the fact, Martin, that they're playing with the wind.
Yes, Gary Cox and John Hanley are foraging very far back into their own defence. There is a danger there in that they're bringing both Sean O'Dwyer and Declan Meehan down with them, but so far neither Sean O'Dwyer nor Declan have managed to make any offensive impact in the game.
Michael Donlan giving it to his colleague in midfield, Kevin Welsh. Welsh wants it back. Here comes the sprint. Now he has to give it back for Jeff Allen. A little bit optimistic considering the strong breeze coming from the town end. 2 extra minutes as the fourth official here, Enda Stenson from Leitrim, displays the sign. 1 point between the teams. Roscommon in front. 1 point hardly enough though, really.
Not enough. It's a disappointingly low-scoring game, actually. Galway haven't really got into the rhythm at all yet, and I don't know really why that is. They don't seem to be getting the ball as cleanly at midfield as they'd like.
For Clancy. Sending that one in. John Hanley is back there again as an extra wing back. The ball is picked off the ground by Alan Nolan, and it's another opportunity for Galway to level the match.
Yes, and again, if they scored this, 4 out of the 5 points will have come as a consequence of Roscommon mistakes in their back line. Technical unforced errors mainly.
Paul Joyce gets the angle behind the goalposts. Here's the kick. There's the score. 4 points for the Galway captain. I don't think anybody could really forget his performance in the All-Ireland final in the second half. He seems to be certainly repeating that sort of standard again here in Hyde Park. Very much a leader and a very fine footballer. The only other player to score for Galway in this game so far is left-half forward Joe Bergen. Sideline ball Galway at the far side. Sideline ball to be taken by Michael Donlan. Derek Savage touched the ball along the ground, and certainly Brendan O'Gorman is indicating that he's going to be very strict on the pickup. In fact, he told me that in the dressing room. He wanted to make sure that players put the foot under the ball.
That's right. Pickups and overcarrying so far seem to be big things with them.
Moss Mannion. Certainly playing very well at centre-half back. Kevin Welch thought about giving it to Kieran Fitzgerald. Uses Matthew Clancy instead. Francie Graham coming in to challenge forward Joyce. Derek Savage latching onto it, floating this one in and over the bar. And on March 16th in the league encounter, Derek Savage scored 2 goals and 3 points. He's a man very much in terms of form at his peak at the moment, and he did very well here to get by the challenge of Raymond Cox, and from a difficult enough angle floated over the bar.
Yes, I think we can expect more of that in the second half. Again, if the ball is coming through to him, he's absolutely lethal. That was a great score of his wrong side.
Galway leading for the first time. Just as the half-time whistle approaches, Kevin Welch giving it to Michael Donlan. One of these penetrating runs. Passing by Francie Graham. Referee wisely allowing him to continue. There's a chance here for Porrick Joyce to goal. He's brought down inside, and the ball is in the net, but the referee has blown for a penalty. What an exciting run by Michael Donlan. Set up initially by Kevin Welsh. Set on his run, and a wonderful piece of interplay by the All-Ireland champions.
Yes, great catch by Walsh, an instant pass to Michael Donlan, penetrated the defence, got the hold, gave a lovely ball into Porrick Joyce, who was taken down, and this will be a perfect end to the half for Galway if they score this.
Brendan O'Gorman is warning the goalkeeper. I think Terry Thompson is pleading innocence, but I would imagine a yellow card is going to be shown here for a personal foul, which is in fact correct by the referee. There's a yellow. 3 yellow cards for Roscommon. Well, psychologically, this is a crucial moment. We're into injury time. Half-time whistle, I'm sure, will blow the minute this kick is taken. It's Derek Savage facing Derek Thompson. Goalkeeper who faces club football with the Garda in Dublin. Facing Cartoon Shamrocks, Derek Savage. If Thompson saves, or Savage misses, it's a huge boost to the home county. The All-Ireland champions get the goal. Simplicity in motion. Galway fans rejoice. And surely now they go in at half-time, leading. Just watch this. So simple. This is the incident that led to the penalty. Derek Savage bringing down Porrick Joyce. Referee is correct. It had to be a penalty for Galway. Well, certainly an exciting end to the first half. At times in the beginning it looked very well. Sometimes the passes were going astray, but the wind a major factor. But Derek Savage, the top scorer in this opening half, with a goal and a point. And certainly the signs are ominous for Roscommon. They will, however, face the breeze against the All-Ireland champions in the second half. Galway lead at half-time, 1-6 to 5 points. An interesting first half, to say the least, but can Roscommon respond to this challenge? That was Paul Noon. Joe Bergen coming through here with a great point, set up, by the way, by Derek Savage. And then Derek Savage got into the action himself with a fine point from a difficult angle, floating this one in. And then, of course, the penalty was the crucial factor. Let's go down to the sideline for some half-time reaction, and let's join Jim Carney.
We're joined in the sideline by two former Galway teammates, Brian Talty and McManus, both now working in Dublin in the respective backgrounds. Brian Talty, from a Roscommon point of view, what a time for that penalty.
Yeah, it was unfortunate really, because they'd worked really hard all through the first half and defended very well and worked well and got some very good scores. Give away a penalty at that stage is it's a big blow to Roscommon now, but Roscommon teams, as we know from playing against them, and we know this team as well, they've great battle and there's great determination, and hopefully they come back out again and work equally as hard in the second half and get a little bit of luck and maybe get the scores.
Right, Gay McManus said the penalty from your point of view couldn't have come at a better time.
Yes, Jim, it couldn't have, because we hadn't settled. The game had got no passion, we weren't playing well, but at the same time we were contesting and the game was much better than it was this day last year in Tuam. So it's not by any means over, because Roscommon are going to come out some way in the second half, I expect.
Very competitive, isn't it? And that's probably the reason why the scoring was so low. I mean, high scores in the National League, but here today it feels competitive.
Yeah, there's no room, there's no space. The marking is very tight on both sides, so nobody has made any errors so far. The penalty came, as you said, just at the right time for us, so hopefully we'll come here.
Brian Talty, you know these boys and train them in Dublin. Have they got it in them to come back?
Well, certainly, traditionally Roscommon teams have got that battle, Jim. We know that ourselves, but certainly this team have it as well, and they've shown it over the last 2 years. So hopefully they'll come back and make another good game within the second half.
Okay, look forward to the second half.
Well, Roscommon have shown in recent years they always make it difficult for Galway. That surely will be the case again today. But at half-time, Colin O'Rourke and Pat Spillane, Galway sort of ambling through this match into a 4-point lead rather than attacking the game, if you like.
That's right. I think Roscommon did their homework probably too well in that they concentrated on closing down the supply route to the Galway full forward line. They brought their half-forwards back deep. But the problem was they're playing with a strong wind and they didn't move the ball. The full forward line in Roscommon was starved of possession. It's true they stopped the supply lines coming in, but they over-elaborated, they did too much short passing, and look, they never kicked the ball in long at all. I got one Roscommon forward scored 1 point from play in the first half, and like I said, Galway at first gear, sometimes in second gear, they have the cuter, they have the sharpness, they have the mobility, and 4 points ahead playing badly, it augurs well for them in the second half.
Indeed, if it hadn't been for that penalty incident, Colin O'Rourke, obviously things would have been a lot tighter.
Yes, well, I suppose the Roscommon backs and the half-forwards have done their job. They've kept the score down, and especially, as I pointed out, the scoring power of the Galway forwards before the game. But in 1 minute, the bit of genius that you have in the Galway team, Savage with a lovely point from play, Donlan with a great run through the middle and set up the goal. And that's the difference between the two teams. Roscommon are very short of ideas, but it's a very, very poor football game and terrible lot of mess. And I was hard on last Sunday's game. Well, this is just as bad. And you can generally gauge from the crowd reaction, there's no passion or involvement at all. Poor match, but Galway look much the sharper team.
Yeah, well, 35 minutes and more of this game to go to see who progresses forward through the front door route, if you like, in this particular championship. Now, just before we go to our commercial break, just take note there of our email address, which you can see on the screen behind me if you want to make contact with the programme. sundaygame@rte.ie. Our website is also mentioned there. Now, the man of the match selection from this game will be your choice. I'll give you the phone numbers after the commercial break. Galway, the score is coming up first. Galway leading 1-6 to 5 points at half-time. The number of frees for Galway indicating, I think, some of the pressure maybe Roscommon have been under at times in this first half. 5 wides to Galway, 3 to Roscommon, and 3 yellow cards, all issued against Roscommon. Goalkeeper Derek Thompson, full-back Alan Nolan, and their full forward Jonathan Dunning, all have gone into the book. Back here in studio with Colm and Pat. Roscommon started this game, Colm, brightly enough and got stuck into it well enough. We had a good Jerry Lohan point, and Paul Noon came up from wing back to score a good point.
Yes, we had 2 great Roscommon points in the first minute, and then they've only scored 1 further point for the remainder of the first half with the wind. We have Stephen Lohan getting on the ball, and eventually ends up with Paul Noon coming in off his left foot. And that's when Roscommon were attacking with a bit of pace. But the longer the half went on, the less and less we saw of that. Galway were strangling them around the middle of the field. Kevin Walsh and Michael Donnellan are very dominant around the middle. Tomas Mannion and Sean Og and Declan Meehan doing well in the half-back line. Mainly because Roscommon have no players nearly in Galway's half of the field except their full forward line. So it has been relatively easy for Galway to attack from there. At this stage, I would find it very difficult to see Roscommon winning the game. I'd be given 10-1 on Galway at this stage.
Having said all that, though, Pat Spillane, I mean, this much talked about Galway attack. I mean, it wasn't until Joe Berger got a point that we saw Galway actually get a point from play in the game.
Well, you have 3 forwards who can score at all from play, but here you saw, I mean, this is great about Galway. Quick, free, you know, they're on the lookout all the time, where on the opposite end, I mean, this is a nice point from Bergen. Roscommon are slow and ponderous in attack, very, very predictable. You saw the good and the bad. You had 2 unforced frees there given away. Alan Nolan in that instant was caught for overcharging with the ball. He was caught earlier on for picking a ball off the ground. They're slow and ponderous in getting the ball out of defence. Christ, there's a wind behind them. It's route 1 football. You move the ball up as quickly as you can into their full forward line where they can score. Galway, like I said, living off scraps, but they're sharp, they're mobile. But what you see about them, and you heard John O'Mahony there in the middle of the first half shouting pressure, pressure, pressure. Once Galway lose possession from number 15 back to the goalkeeper, they apply pressure, and that's what's making it very, very, very difficult for Roscommon to get the ball into their full forward line.
And I suppose, in fairness, Colin, the penalty incident also showed this, that Galway, if they get a sniff at all of a breakthrough, they're right through the gap.
Yeah, well, if you contrast the 2 teams in the breaking from the middle of the field, it's the first run Donnellan has got, but he gets right through because of the pace that he has. On to Ja, great left-fisted pass into Pádraig Joyce, who's brought down by Derek Thompson with the goal at his mercy. But you'd have to say Roscommon are not capable of doing that. Yeah. Savage puts it away with a bit of style then, nice and easy. Knew he was putting a centre goalie the wrong way. Roscommon aren't just capable. They don't have the quality of player that Galway have in the important positions.
But again, you saw it was the full back line being opened up again in that particular instance. I mean, when he was fouled, he was inside the entire full back line. The full back line were caught ball watching. Good defenders must be goal side of their attacker. So, I mean, we highlighted the weak links beforehand, and sadly particularly near the end of that half, they were appearing again, the cracks were appearing.
Well, I'm sure John Tobin will be highlighting some of them to his players in the dressing room at half-time as well. We have another commercial break, back with the second half after that.
Indeed, no changes on either side. Referee Brendan O'Gorman about to start the second half. Galway playing with wind advantage, leading by 4 points. The signs are ominous indeed for the home side, but that's when the Roscommon character and mettle is tested. And already a little bit of off-the-ball confrontation going on between Francie Grehan and Ja Fallon. No positional switches as the second half starts. Sean O'Dupere picking up the loose ball, down towards Paul Clancy. Declan Meehan up towards Pádraig Joyce. This is a great start for Galway. Dispersed from play. Galway's captain leading by example, and the visitors now have a 5-point advantage.
Again, a lovely pass that time from Declan Meehan to Porrick Joyce. Took it well, got on his trusted left foot and kicked it over the bar. Simple but very effective.
Derek Thompson with the kick out. Great catch. Seamus O'Neill. Gary Cox swinging it over towards this corner. John Hanley for Declan Meehan. Beating both Hanley and Deneen to the ball. Jeff Allen. Again incorporating Porrick Joyce into the attack. Over towards Matthew Clancy. Spot above it. Porrick Joyce seems to be down on the ground. The referee continues on play. There seemed to be an after the ball was delivered challenge. We'll have to check that as Galway continue on with Kieran Fitzgerald in control. Sean DePrere, Michael Donlan, Declan Meehan coming from right half back. Galway playing with 14 players. This is Jeff Allen, knocked out of his grasp by Francie Graham. Alan Nolan under severe pressure. Galway captain still down, and this is the first opportunity that the referee has to allow Porrick Joyce to get some medical attention. The linesman this side seems to be waving his flag. It's Seamus McCormack from Meath, and Brendan O'Gorman is coming across. There's a suspicion that Francie Graham was involved. And let's just see what the referee from Lurgan in County Armagh will do.
Yeah, here's the ball now. Here's the ball there, but yes, Francie Graham came through and caught him with the elbow right in the mouth.
Roscommon captain is going to be booked by the referee at least. It depends on what his linesman, Seamus McCormack, informed the man in charge. It looks like a yellow. 4 yellow cards for Roscommon in this game. And they're all coming down the middle. Goalkeeper, full-back, centre-back and full forward.
Yes, and worryingly from a Galway point of view, Porrick Joyce still stretched on the ground, so there must be some... Yes, again, here's Porrick Joyce on his left foot, gives the ball. Yes, Francie comes in and catches him all right with his left elbow, on the jaw and the mouth. So maybe there's a little bit of dental damage done. That's only speculation, but he's been down the ground for quite a while.
Captain getting some medical attention from Dr. Donald Kelly from Monavea. And John O'Mahony, as always, with the stopwatch, checking how much time will be added on. Very meticulous, very professional. Here's Francie Graham. And 4 Galway players converging, letting him know that Galway are here. Francie survives the challenge. Gives it over to the far side. Seamus O'Neill winning possession. Roscommon maintaining possession, but Gary Cox running into a wall of maroon and white. Overdid it. It's going to be a free to Galway. One against one here. Matthew Clancy judged it nicely. Derek Savage is outside him. Uses Declan Meehan. Look where the right half back is. Matthew Clancy has the courage to try and get through the Roscommon cover, but he scooped it off the ground, so it's going to be a free out to Roscommon.
Yeah, surprisingly that time there was very little off the ball movement for the Galway forwards. They were caught up in a little bind over on the far side of the field, but nobody was making a run in the opposite wing that would have given Matthew Clancy something to shoot the ball at.
Picked up again by Francie Graham, trying to drive his team from the centre half back position. Flicking it over as Nigel Deneen. Richie Fahey is his marker, giving it back outside to Gary Cox. Available is Stephen Lohan, floating this one in. Alan Keane watches and gathers. Tomas Mannion to Joe Bergen, driving it down the sideline. Again, Francie Graham comes across to gather. Missed the ball because he was watching Pádraig Joyce. This is a good ball by Joyce. Look at the corner back here in Fitzgerald. Matthew Clancy facing Thompson. Oh, and a brilliant save by the goalkeeper. Derek Thompson is called upon to produce a smashing save, and he's hoping that this will inspire his colleagues. A defence-splitting move by Galway. Clancy drove it hard and low, and Thompson responded. Great save by the keeper.
Yes, that's the first time we've actually seen Galway in full flight. A lovely bit of interplay again between Jam and Pádraig Joyce, giving the ball to the overlapping Fitzgerald, and a very good attempt by Matthew Clancy, but a great save, must be said, by Derek Thompson.
Double substitution for Roscommon on its way. Not yet, as Michael Donlan takes this 45. Hits it sweetly over the bar. 4 players from Galway have now scored. Joe Bergen, Pádraig Joyce, Derek Savage, and now one Michael Donlan. It looks like Jerry Lohan is going to make way. He's one of the players that's being replaced. And Conor Kennelly and Frankie Dolan coming on for Roscommon. John Hanley being the other player that has been replaced. So 12 and 15 are gone, 21 and 23 are on. John Tobin and his fellow selectors acknowledging that from an attack point of view they need a little bit more creativity, a little bit more imagination and penetration. Will Dolan and Conor Kennelly provide it. Here's Kennelly. Good play by Joe Bergen. Hefty challenge on the Galway man, and Brendan O'Gorman, the referee, spotting the ball. Jeff Allen. Pádraig Joyce again, demonstrating his leadership by always being available. Flicking this one in. Matthew Clancy, this time deflected. And Roscommon. It's a real test of character for the Connacht champions. Ball given away, however, by Andy McFadden. It's his first mistake. His first half performance was quite impressive. A push by left corner back Raymond Cox. This is going to be a free for goal.
Yes, on the basis of what we've seen over the first 8 minutes or so, Galway certainly have gone up a gear or two, and the coordination among the players, the understanding of each other's play is very, very evident. But the 2 substitutions that Roscommon have brought in, Conor Kennelly and Frankie Dolan, certainly I think will improve the forward line. Both have very, very good records as forwards, and, you know, John Tobin will be certainly hoping for a big return from them.
This is Pádraig Joyce. His now familiar pose that we're all accustomed to. Sending this over the bar. Half a dozen points for the captain. And Galway stretch their lead. The kick out quickly taken by Derek Thompson. Dennis Gavin drop kicks it up far as Jonathan Dunning. I just feel that Roscommon, from an attack perspective, has certainly lost their shape. Strategically, there doesn't seem to be any sort of a plan. Meanwhile, Galway's attacking exploits continue. Sean DePuer, Matthew Clancy shows for it well. Gets there ahead of Dennis Gavin. Clancy battles hard, needs to get it back outside. Plenty of Roscommon defenders. Galway win it back. I'm not too sure if it was legal, but referee has blown his whistle, and again Pádraig Joyce seems to be in the wars. And the referee seemed to be a little bit slow in his actions here. The referee has apparently sorted matters out. He has his book out. Let's see what he's going to do here. This is Pádraig Joyce with possession. Alan Nolan There seemed to be a boot there by Francie Graham.
Oh yeah, that's very
And
clearly.
that's a sending off offence.
Yeah, very clearly he stamped into him that time. That's a clear sending off offence, and it's something I don't think the referee picked up
No.
on. That's a nasty foul,
Yes,
actually.
it is a nasty foul. And unacceptable.
Yeah,
and
very
again,
much so.
it's the second challenge again on Pádraig Joyce. Jerry Lohan is the player that's going off, and confirmation that Frankie Dolan is on. They were just a few moments ago, just confirming that that's the story. The referee is a very meticulous official, and I'm sure he'll be disappointed that he missed what Francie Graham did on Pádraig Joyce. Seamus O'Neill. Francie Graham kicking it a bit wildly, but there's no Roscommon now. Declan Meehan changing the tactics here, giving it long. Derek Savage, Raymond Cox, and again Francie Graham. Jar Fallon hitting him a shoulder. Referee says it's a free to Roscommon. Andy McPadden has the vision to see Seamus O'Neill available. Moss Mannion gone across to take him up. And again, the running off the ball by Roscommon is very poor, inept at this level.
Yes, but the defending actually by Galway is tremendous there. The number of bodies they're getting back between the Roscommon players and the ball.
Here they come again. There's a chance here for Stephen Lohan. And that is curling to the right and wide. Fergal O'Donnell is going to be replaced apparently, and coming on as David Casey, who we saw earlier. He was a blood substitution in the first half for Seamus O'Neill. And certainly David Casey from Boyle in County Roscommon, just 20 years of age. It looks like Alan Kearns is coming on for Galway. Casey will play at midfield for Roscommon, and Alan Kearns will probably take up a forward position. It looks like Derek Savage. Derek Savage is injured actually. There's Fergal O'Donnell, last year's captain, going off. Change of midfield. So David Casey is now at midfield with Seamus O'Neill.
Yes, Casey is a player actually who played through the National League, a very good midfielder, probably a little bit inexperienced maybe to start in the championship game, but you can expect a honest to God, wholehearted performance from him.
Conor Kennelly spraying that ball over to the far corner where Nigel Deneen had been sucked into the middle, so picked up by Richie Fahey under no pressure. Finds Declan Meehan, who seems to be in every part of the pitch. Right half back is now making a great run off the ball for Jar Fallon. Again Joyce is used onto the right boot, and there's a late challenge there. The referee allows play to continue and gives a free to Roscommon as Alan Kearns seemed to trip Raymond Cox.
Yes, worryingly from a Roscommon point of view, anytime they attack, there's a namelessness about their attack. There's no method to it, and they're kicking the ball into empty spaces, and the Galway back is gobbling it up. Their coordination is non-existent actually, and they haven't enough players up front.
They certainly seem to have lost their shape. They're now playing with just two players up front, Frankie Dolan and Nigel Deneen. Michael Donnelly. Galway continue to dominate the midfield area. Up towards Alan Kearns. Raymond Cox trying to hold on to the elusive corner forward from Claren Bridge. An effort by Paul Clancy is well wide. Derek Savage picked up an injury there in his thigh, possibly another hamstring victim. And Derek Savage went off, and Alan Kearns on. Just confirmation it is in fact a hamstring that's gone. Conor Kennelly. Frankie Dolan, there's a chance here. But Joe Bargan is back, helping out his defence. Richie Fahey gives it plenty of air. Gathered by Andy McPadden, who's been one of the few really impressive players for Roscommon. Gary Cox. Well read by Michael Donlan. Well won by Nigel Deneen. Flicking it inside. There's Gary Cox. Sean DePuer hits him with his shoulder. This is an easy ball, at least it should be, but it's not! Alan Keane has dropped it, and Roscommon have a lifeline. Unexpected, not through any great creativity, but Paul Noon, the left half back, accepts the gift from the keeper, and Roscommon are back in the game. 51 minutes played, and Galway just have a match on their hands. Thanks to their own goalkeeper, who again was a bit lax. He dropped one of these in the first half. He dropped it in the second half, and in the second half he was punished. Now the home side are behind the boys in yellow and blue. Conor Kennelly adding a bit of pace to Jonathan Dunning. Dunning doing well. The flick outside was unexpected. First Nigel Deneen. Dunning again, employed. Nobody around, nobody at all around. And this is the criticism I would have of Roscommon today. No great running off the ball into space. The challenge was late on the Roscommon man, and the referee has blown his whistle.
It wouldn't surprise me actually in this case if he's giving the free against Seamus O'Neill, because I think it was Seamus O'Neill actually who committed the foul that time.
John Tobin making changes to his tack. John O'Mahony still in a commanding position despite that gift of a goal to John Tobin's boys. Joe Bergen is the player that's down injured for Galway. Let's just have another look at that goal.
Okay, this time again Gary Cox puts the ball in, harmless ball, wasteful ball, but Alan Kearns gifts it to Alan Keane gifts it in this case to Paul Noon, who was coming in. That's the third mistake actually he's made during the game, poor handling. And a game that Galway were coasting through, where there was no danger to them, they've now given a lifeline to Roscommon, and it's quite likely that they can build on that.
And perhaps that knee is still a problem for Alan Keane, and perhaps maybe Galway made a mistake in playing the goalkeeper, because usually he deals with all these balls rather easily. Yellow card for Seamus O'Neill. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Roscommon players.
It mightn't necessarily be the injury, but the fact that he hasn't been able to practice or train enough, and his sharpness just isn't there maybe at the moment, but that'll come in time if they continue with the championship.
Sean DePuer. Free to Galway. Declan Meehan. Jeff Allen. Then he looks for Porrick Joyce. And again the captain makes the diagonal run. And that's the difference between Galway and Roscommon forwards. Galway always seem to have options. A dangerous ball! And the ball is over the line. Alan Kearns seems to have gotten the touch, and the green flag is raised. Roscommon defenders are protesting. The kick out is taken, but that is incorrect. Let's just see this again. I think Brendan O'Gorman is telling the goalkeeper that it is in fact a goal. Yes, the green flag is raised.
Yes, he's telling the umpire to raise the flag actually. The umpire didn't do it that time. But again, the cross that came over, yes indeed, the ball is well across the line. Very, very well taken by Alan Kearns that time. A great cross from Porrick Joyce. There it is. And Alan Kearns came in, and certainly the ball is well and truly over the line.
But was he inside the small rectangle before the ball there, Mark?
We'd have to get another look at it to, to confirm that.
Michael Donlan, great catch. Joe Bergen, Paul Clancy, great movement again off the ball by Galway, and indeed with the ball. Clancy needs the support of Porrick Joyce. Ball into the centre for Jeff Allen. Look at where the cornerback is, and the cornerback will raise the flag. Kieran Fitzgerald plays his club football with Corofin. normally plays at right corner back for Galway, centre back sometimes for his club, but never up front. And John O'Mahony must be well pleased with the way his champions have responded to the challenge put up by Roscommon. Jeff Allen, Matthew Clancy, Declan Meehan. What a great footballer this young player from Caltray is. Inside is Matthew Clancy. There's a chance of another goal, and it's across the face of the goal. But they're a joy to watch once they step up a gear.
Absolutely delightful to watch. Great ball from Porrichoice, wonderful vision, great running off the ball by Matthew Clancy, and again under a bit of pressure puts the ball wide, but they're flowing at the moment. There's that fluency that you had last year. Look at that for off the ball running by Matthew. Opportunity's been given to him, bad finish, be disappointed with that, but they're delightful to watch at the moment, and it's easy to see why they've got into why they have a double score lead.
And Declan Meehan's role is so important. Those brilliant runs from right half back. Joe Bergen.
Yes, but one guy at the moment that is actually orchestrating a lot of it is Jarlath Fallon. Someone with fist passing, he's showing great vision and accuracy. He's bringing others into it. He might not be scoring, but he's bringing others into the game.
There's Jeff Allen. Michael Donlan going to take the free. As John Tobin again tries to reorganise his side. He must be a little bit concerned that everything he's tried so far hasn't worked, except the introduction of Conor Kennelly. Back outside to Paul Clancy. And the turn, will it occur? It will. Paul Clancy joins the list of Galway scorers. Corey Joyce trying to flick it inside to Sean DePere. Intercepted well, however, this time by Dennis Gavin. Nigel Deneen. Bringing David Casey into the picture. Deneen picks up the challenge again. Jonathan Dunning. Back outside to Frankie Dolan. Chance of a point, and it's taken. Frankie Dolan gets on the score sheet. And gives Roscommon supporters just something to cheer about. Again, well-worked play, but they have to work so hard to register anything.
Yes, and that's only their second point of the second half, which again is an indication of how superior Galway have been.
Alan Keane aims at Kevin Welsh. Conor Kennelly. That's going to be a Roscommon ball. Again, no great options available to the player with possession. Gary Cox finally makes a dash. Paul Noon, goal scorer, coming along the end line. Is he pushed over the end line? He is. The referee is going to give a free on the 13-metre line to Roscommon. But it says a lot for the Roscommon attack that Paul Noon is the one that's causing more problems than anybody else, and he's the left half back.
Yes, I think the strategy they employed today of actually, bringing the two wing half forwards into a defensive role actually has starved the inside forwards of support whenever the ball goes out.
Frankie Dolan gets his second point. Roscommon stay in touch, but they've huge mountain to climb at the moment. Look at that scoreboard. 2-11, 1-7. 10 minutes left.
10 minutes left, but remember last year they came back from the dead against Mayo in the championship, so who knows? Still plenty of time left.
Tommy Joyce, the only one of the All-Ireland starting 15 that didn't start today. He's going to be coming on, I believe, from Matthew Clancy, the corner forward. Kieran Fitzgerald under pressure from Nigel Deneen, fouled by the Roscommon man. Paul Clancy going to take it. David Casey. Gary Cox working hard. Flicking this one in. Jonathan Dunning cleverly knocking it back to David Casey. And that's a great effort by Casey. Alan Keane comes off his line. Gathering safely. Joe Bergen is back there. Paul Clancy now. Sending it down the wing. Clancy Graham gets there ahead of Fallon, but it's Fallon that has the ball. Clancy Graham sticks to his task admirably. Paul Clancy. It's going to be a foul. Full frontal charge on the wing forward from Mike Cullen. Again, Pauric Joyce, always first to the ball, always in front of his marker. Switching play, this is going to be a classic piece. Alan Kearns gets his second goal. Plays his club football with Salting, Knocknacarra. The dual star who I believe will rejoin the Galway hurling panel this week. And I think Noel Lane will be glad to see that the dual star is in great scoring form. Look at this, it's a wonderful piece of action. It's worthy of All-Ireland champions.
Well, certainly any coach who wants to show youngsters how to play football, please take that little piece out and show it again and again and again. It's so simple, it's so accurate, it's delightful.
I honestly don't think we're going to see better in the All-Ireland series.
Oh, there's two beautiful kick passes there. The assist there to Alan Cairns was of the highest quality by Declan Meehan. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful pass, as was the first pass over to Declan from Pauric Joyce.
Matthew Clancy is the player that's going off for Galway, and he has played very well, and it gives Tommy Joyce a chance to show what he's capable of. It shows the calibre and the depth of talent in this Galway. And John O'Mahony, I think, is right to congratulate his corner forward. And Niall O'Donoghue is on for Stephen Lohan as well, I believe. This is Conor Kennelly. Roscommon. Surely facing defeat now in the face. Passing signals going astray. Kevin Welsh, Kieran Fitzgerald, Tommy Joyce. Every pass greeted with a cheer. I think I remember Meath fans doing this to Kerry last year. Pauric Joyce sneaking it through. Derek Thompson has to come off his line to get there ahead of Alan Kearns. But it was worth travelling miles to see that last Galway goal. Crossfield ball, flicked on kick pass inside with the fist, and a finish that was just sublime. David Casey. He's making an impression since introduced, but his passing is a bit weak. Tommy Joyce. There's trouble again for Roscommon. Michael Donlan. Giving it inside, but the referee has blown his whistle for taking too many steps. Out of the corner of his eye, I think Michael Donlan knew that a colleague was coming forward and just took a little bit too much out of it. Dennis Gavin. Floating it in long, which really doesn't suit the Roscommon forwards. And there's plenty of Galway defenders there. Tomas Mannion. He wasn't happy with the challenge from the Roscommon player. Beautiful run again, Alan Kearns. Difficult angle, the referee hadn't blown his whistle, and the kick out is to Derek Thompson. And Alan Kearns can take a breather because at this stage with just 5 minutes left, I know Martin Kearney thought the Roscommon could come back, but I really don't think they're going to come back from this one.
No, certainly not today.
Gary Cox. Sending it in low again towards Niall O'Donoghue. Niall was the player who challenged Tomas Mannion a moment ago, but Mannion didn't like the challenge. Niall O'Donoghue was fouled. former Dublin footballer, winning himself a free for Roscommon.
Probably there's been an exhibition of sorts in the second half, and Galway have shown their full repertoire of skills, the short game, the long game, but I think what is most consistent for me is the quality of their kick passing. It's been absolutely first rate.
The referee is going to hold play again. Looks like Tomas Mannion, I think, that's in trouble again. Centre half back. Involved with Connacht rugby as well. Hard-working player all his life. He scored 2 goals. I mentioned the 86 minor All-Ireland. He scored 2 goals that day. As we look at a very, well, what can you say, a very worried Roscommon team. John Tobin has brought this team to a Connacht championship, but I think the Tune native will be impressed with his own county, but bitterly disappointed with the performance of his adopted county.
Yes, disappointed and dejected about it, because certainly that wouldn't have been part of the script today. Yeah, in this case here, okay, the short ball is given. Okay, I think Tomas Mannion simply just falls. He seems to go over in his ankle.
It may have been a challenge that he got earlier from Niall O'Donoghue, but anyway, thankfully he's back in the thick of the action as Roscommon go into another attack. And again, it's Paul Noon that's at the end of moves. Here's Tomas. And Tomas Mannion didn't like the challenge from Paul Noon and informed him of that opinion. Well won by Paul Clancy. Again, Porrick Joyce. He's a wonderful orchestrator of this Galway attack. Holding off, waiting for Jeff Allen to get into a good scoring position. Floating this one in, and Derek Thompson saves. Gary Cox. Andy McPadden. Seems to be a foot block by Porrick Joyce. And that's going to be taken by Roscommon. Referee says play on. Because at this stage it matters very little, I feel, with just 2 minutes left. A very impressive second half performance by the All-Ireland champions. Niall O'Donoghue floating this one in. Nigel Deneen, Tomas Mannion. Well, himself and Kevin Welch, there were doubts, over the last couple of weeks. They're both 32 years of age. Will they be able for the championship? The answer is very affirmative. They've been outstanding, the two of them. And they're very crucial because they man centre-back and midfield positions.
Yes, but the acquired understanding of each other's play is what impresses me most. Kevin Walsh can play on that team, Tomas Mannion can play on that team, because they understand what to do when they get the ball, and there are great young legs around them who do the running for them. But their experience, their guile is so important also to the whole tenor of that team. But we've seen a repertoire of skills today in the second half that is worth coming along with.
Brendan O'Gorman has informed his linesman Seamus McCormick that there's going to be 4 extra minutes. This is the ball inside towards Nigel Deneen. Gary Fahy fouling the corner forward. Roscommon trying to engineer a goal here, but Paul Noon comes for his Niall O'Donoghue. Chance here of a shot. Seamus O'Neill sends it wide.
Yes, the other issue actually in general, here's a chance by Seamus O'Neill on his left foot, has a blast, fair play to him, but it's well wide. But the other issue too, the subs they bring in can seamlessly fit into the overall pattern of things. And that's very encouraging from John O'Mahony's point of view.
Jeff Allen again trying to get Porrick Joyce, but it's sliced off his boot. The picture tells the story. Roscommon fans disgruntled and disappointment etched on their faces as they leave Hyde Park on a day when really their side just didn't perform, beaten by a superior side, a quality side that you feel could be heading towards Croke Park in September.
But there's one great motivating thing for them. No team since I think the All-Ireland in 1989 and 1990 has put 2 in a row. And Galway certainly had the talent. That hunger is there for the entire summer. I certainly think they're good enough to beat any team in the country on the way they're playing today.
Kieran Fitzgerald knocks that down. Sean DePlair sets up Michael Donlan. Paul Clancy. winning good possession out here on the right wing. Padraig Joyce. He has two options. One of them is the left half back. Oh, off the post and over the bar. Sean DePere gets into the action. That's two defenders. Kieran Fitzgerald, the cornerback, scored earlier. Sean DePere represents the half-back line in the scoring prowess this afternoon. Great run again by the half-back. Declan Meehan has really impressed me, but so too has Sean DePere. Good play. The question now is not just about the quality of Galway, but can Roscommon now respond in the All-Ireland qualifiers, because no doubt that's where they're heading for. Kevin Walsh. Flick it inside. Francie Graham just intercepting ahead of Paul Clancy. Derek Thompson has to sweep up behind. Gary Cox. Seamus O'Neill. Conor Kennelly. Getting by the challenge of Joe Bergen. It's a great run by Kennelly. Still Kennelly. Needs support outside now. Nobody there. Good defending by Galway. They concede a 45.
Yes, just going back to what you were mentioning about Roscommon, I think the June weekend they're going to go into the qualifiers, and there's a huge amount of repair work to be done on morale more than anything else. There's still a lot of talent in the team, but today they just met a very, very, very impressive unit who, in the second half, went up a gear and gave a delightful display of skill and scoring and movement and you name it.
Roscommon seeking another point here through the boot. Frankie Dolan fails to find the target. Gary Cox needs some medical attention from Dr. Daly, but certainly Gary Cox has worked very hard, and you can see why even today, despite Roscommon's inept performance, why he was gaining first team selection. It looks like Galway are making further substitutions. They're bringing in Micheál Comer and Tomás Meehan, but we continue on with the action. Sideline ball. Looks like Tomás Meehan is coming on for Richie Fahy. Tomás, of course, was cornerback in the All-Ireland winning team in '98. And Micheál Comer is coming on for Kieran Fitzgerald. So a change in the Galway full back line. With just 1 minute to go, possibly even less. Richie Fahy, again congratulated by John O'Mahony. He's over at the far side. Roscommon captain waits to deliver this sideline ball. Micheál Comer, that substitution now being completed, and Kieran Fitzgerald can afford a smile. A point score in this Connacht Championship quarter-final. Of course, Galway will face Mayo in McHale Park in 2 weeks' time.
That's right, in 2 weeks' time, and certainly that's a game that I know Mayo are waiting for and will really look forward to, but Galway on this form are going to be very difficult to beat.
Roscommon trying to seek a goal here. They have a chance with Nigel Dineen. The referee will blow a penalty here surely, and he's giving a penalty to Roscommon. So a chance for respectability, and that's all it is.
Well, that's about all it is actually, but to be fair to Nigel Dineen, he's been the one player in their forward line that has tried hard today, but again he was a lone ranger up there. He had very little support.
Chance here. Going to take it is Frankie Dolan. Alan Keane will stand on the Galway line. Here's Dolan, and he sends it over the bar. It's a mirror image of the story, really.
Yeah.
It just isn't Roscommon's day.
It sums up their day, actually.
The kick out is quickly taken, and Roscommon's misery is finally ended. They trailed by just 4 points at half-time, But in the end, Alan Kern's introduction was crucial. 2 goals and a point. And certainly the Galway third goal was just, well, it was copybook stuff. It was a joy to watch. The All-Ireland champions beat the Connacht champions in Hyde Park. Beware the rest of Ireland. Galway are fully intended to retain their All-Ireland title. Full-time score, Galway 3-12, Roscommon 1-8.
Thank you very much to Martin Carney and to Marty Morrissey, of course, and commentary there. Colin Work, Pat Spillane. I have to say there are very few occasions watching Galway winning a match that I was just praying for it to end, but it just petered out in the end.
You're absolutely right. You couldn't understand why the referee put up 4 minutes, because Roscommon wanted it to end just as much as everybody watching the game. What we saw was Galway totally outclassing Roscommon and sending out a message to the rest of Ireland that, for me, they look better than they did at this time last year, because I think what they have added to their superb fitness and organisation and mobility around the field is a harder physical edge, because I think today they expected Roscommon to give them a rough time of it like they did in the game last year. They were prepared for it. It was very interesting. One time Fancy Graham got the ball there in the second half. 4 Galway men descended on him. They were sending out a message. They weren't going to take any messing from him. Francie should have been put off for a stamp. Seamus O'Neill was a bit out of order as well at times. But Galway look good. They're sharp. They're hungry. They have a problem with their goalkeeper. Maybe he'll be all right with fitness. Jazz kicking was off. But like Declan Meehan is absolutely superb, and the rest of the forwards, once they got going, well, they're an awesome sight. They're going to take a lot of stopping. OK, thank you for that. The view of Pat Spillane coming up after this commercial break.
It seems like ages ago, and so much has changed. Back then, periods seemed like such a big deal, but they're just one of nature's cycles. A cycle you want to be comfortable with. That's why there's new Envive from Always. It has a cotton feel and deodorizing qualities for a clean, fresh feeling. Envive, a natural progression.
The Solero effect you don't expect. New Solero Smoother from HB.
Don't the little monsters look sweet? And only 4 hours till Granny arrives. Frankie? Lucy? Lucky for you, nothing gets out blackcurrant better than new Purcell Performance. Connor? Still, nothing gets out ketchup better either. And just seconds till Granny arrives.
Oh, you poor neglected darlings.
New Purcell Performance for all your monster stains.
An extra. All aboard. Here we go. Steady. Easy, Tiger. Wow. Never fails.
You can't get fresher than extra.
Nuts about the World Cup. You could just grab a Snickers.
In summer, when the days last longer, your moisturizer should too. Touch from Olay, with a hydrovitamin system that continually hydrates your skin for summer. Touch beautiful summer skin. Touch from Olay. Love the skin you're in.
Wouldn't it be great if you could change the weather with the flick of a switch? For better or worse, you can, and you do. The way we use energy in Ireland is contributing to a gradual but alarming change in the world's climate. It doesn't mean warmer summers. It means more extreme and unstable weather all year round. More storms and floods, more droughts, more coastal erosion. Help combat climate change. Turn down, switch off, leave the car at home whenever you can. The environment, it's easy to make a difference.
Look it up, check it out. The Red Book for what's available in your area. Tosh Aoun, the business and shopping guide that's used nationwide by thousands. It's guaranteed Irish.
The man of the match selection from that game is a matter for you. Those are the phone numbers to ring: 1550 717115 if you're calling from the Republic. If you're ringing from the north, it's 0906 614 1818. And you have until 8 o'clock tonight to make that call if you want to make your mind up. Who is the man of the match from Roscommon versus Galway? Next here, we're going to take a look at the stats from the game. The score, first of all, Galway winning it 3-12 to 1-8. A lot of frees in the game, obviously. 24 to Galway, 22 to Roscommon. Not that many wides in it. 145 each, and there were 5 yellow cards issued against Roscommon. Also, Gary Fahy, the Galway fullback, received a yellow card as well in that match. Well, back here in studio, we're talking to Pat Spillane and to Colin O'Rourke. Didn't need any stats to figure that one out, Pat, in any great sense. Some of the moves that Galway made, we're going to look at Alan Kearns' goals here, and some of the moves Galway made, and we'll say in the goal, the second goal in particular, were absolutely wonderful.
Well, they were tremendous move on and off the ball. Kearns' 2 goals were 2 different types of goals. His first goal, I mean, was a high speculative ball. Now, Thompson is about 6 inches over Kearns, and this was Thompson's fault. I mean,
was he in the square?
Well, now, if Roscommon people want to look in and get some glimmer of light in tonight's programme, we'll find some camera angle that maybe might show it in the square. But it was goalkeeper's fault. This was simply brilliant football. Look, accuracy in passing, great movement. But again, look, the full back line were AWOL. There was no trace of them at all. I mean, it was tremendous movement. But I mean, look, I'm always the party pooper on these occasions. Let's get a reality check. This was not the same Roscommon team as we saw last year. This was a Roscommon team whose highest scorer was their wing back. This was a Roscommon team who conceded 5-13 against Cavan. Now, we saw Cavan against Tyrone, and we saw Cavan against Donegal last week, and they had a forward line that couldn't punch holes in a paper bag. So I know John O'Mahony, being the realist he is, he won't get carried away, but it was a superb performance. Quality opposition was fairly dodgy.
Yeah, OK, Colin, obviously, as Pat said, there's work now for John Tobin and his backroom staff to do before their next outing in the qualifiers. Whoever that's against, he'll be looking for a soft draw, hopefully.
Well, you'd need that after that game, because the whole spirit in that Roscommon team must be broken with the last 2 games, because they've just been torn apart. And they were going well up to that stage. Roscommon are in big trouble. They're going nowhere. Let's be fair about it. They had a bit of spirit last year against Galway. The spirit ran out very quickly the second half there when Galway got the first goal. Like, that game was over after about 40 minutes.
Yeah. OK, gentlemen, thank you very much for that. Now, next we're going to put the results of the day up on screen. If you don't want to hear what the results are, remember some of these matches will figure in our nighttime programme. You may look away for the next few seconds. OK, those results gone off your screen right now. Only left for me to remind you about our nighttime programme. The Sunday Game is back with you a little bit later on. Much in that programme from all of the action from the day. We're featuring Armagh against Tyrone in the Ulster Football Championship. And a look at our 2 live games again, Roscommon, Galway and Clare against Tipperary. We also have a report from Marty Morrissey on the drug testing issue within the GAA at the moment and different views on that. My thanks to Pat Spillane and to Colin O'Rourke for joining me this afternoon. Pat will be back again later on with us tonight. So will Gerlach Nan and Joe Brawley for a look at other matters. For the moment, bye-bye.
And you can see the Sunday Game live next week at the same time here on 2.